Maryland sports fans, there's only one sports book in the great state of Maryland with over 50 years experience booking bets and supporting customers. Betfred Sportsbook at Longshots is now open and is the only sportsbook in Frederick offering cash betting on football, basketball, world soccer, and more. Visit the Betfred Sportsbook at I-270 and MD-85 in Frederick, right next to Longshots off-track betting. Go to betfredsports.com for more information and your chance to win exclusive merchandise. Must be 21 or older. Play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Okay, see you later.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loud Spot. I'm your host, Sebastian Cosby, right out of Oklahoma City. We got a great show for you tonight. Special guest co-hosting with me is Mr. Los from the podcast Malcocast. I almost said Malco Crew again. How you doing, man?
Hey, man. What is up, Sebastian? Thanks so much for having me today as the guest host. What is up to you, and what is up to Andy Pohl, the man of the hour?
Yes, sir.
What's going on, y'all?
Well, I wanted to get you on the podcast for you kind of do a lot of different things. You have a record label, you have a podcast, and a kick-ass band that I love to listen to. But we are going to focus on your record label, Sell the Heart Records, which, by the way, he has t-shirts always for sale. They're absolutely fantastic. I bought the pink one because I didn't have a pink shirt, and I said I need to get a pink shirt. So let's talk about your record label and what you do for bands that you sign.
Sure. So, yeah, I started Sell the Heart Records about a little over 10 years ago. It was myself, actually, and a couple of friends. We kind of started this as like a group thing. That eventually kind of ended up just kind of being more like my own thing. I mean, as a lot of, I think, things start in earnest with like a group, people get busy and, sometimes there's not enough to like keep people interested. And I mean, we had very little to do at the beginning, except for just to brainstorm all the time. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think eventually just some people just said, I don't really have time for this anymore. Oh, it's not really capturing my interest or whatever. But I was like kind of the one who was kind of spearheading the whole thing anyway. So I just kind of kept running with it. But yeah, started off, I was living up in the Santa Rosa area, which is in the North Bay area of Northern California.
Oh, we know where that is. That's near my hometown of Vacaville. So
there you go. Yeah. And, I was up there working with mostly local bands. And, part of the idea was that I wanted it to be, kind of a way to showcase bands from that area. And, because a lot of labels do that, like they'll kind of focus in on like a certain area or region of like the state or wherever they're in. And, the North Bay area, Sonoma County, there had been other labels that had existed prior to me kind of starting this, but there wasn't really anyone really doing anything within like the punk and indie rock world per se. So wasn't so much that I was a trailblazer by any means, but we were one of like the only real entities kind of doing that. So mostly worked with local bands, and eventually kind of branched out and ended up actually earlier on working with a band out of Vacaville, actually. Do you know the band Build Us Airplanes?
I don't. I'm from
Never heard of
it.
No.
Yeah.
No. Are you familiar with the band Monster Squad at all?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Monster Squad, yes.
Yeah. So one of the guys from Monster Squad was in Build Us Airplanes. It was like a side band he was in, and it was all Vacaville guys. And
Cool. I didn't know that.
yeah, helped release an album from them, it's a great album, by the way. Like, I mean, it's unfortunately one of those albums that I think didn't really get as properly served as it could have, because the band didn't so much break up shortly after, but they kind of, I guess, for lack of a better word, they kind of fizzled out. Like, they kind of stopped playing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a awesome record, like, especially if you're into stuff like hot water music, or like bands like Nothington, or I don't know. There's like not so much Jawbreaker, but like bands kind of in that indie punk sound.
Okay, because Monster Squad's mostly like a gutter punk, right?
Yeah, Monster Squad's definitely more like that street punk kind of sound.
Okay.
But these guys were kind of a blend of more like kind of, I guess, punk rock and like indie rock.
That's cool. Yeah,
it's a great record.
So
But
they were your first act on your record label?
no, they weren't the first. They were one of the first 5, though. The very first artist that we released a record from was actually the band I was in at the time. It was this instrumental, like, I guess for lack of a better word, like post-rock instrumental band called Snipers.
Okay.
Kind of think like Explosions in the Sky meets like Russian Circles meets like Pelican or Caspian, or any of those like kind of heavier instrumental guitar driven bands. And
you know, all these cool bands. Like, I wish I knew this many bands. Like, I know what the radio gives me and people on my podcast, but it's cool. I bet you're exposed to a lot of bands having the label. On top of being a musician yourself, and touring and stuff like that. But how many? Not to cut you off, but how many bands hit you up on like a regular basis wanting to be part of your label? Or better question is, do you turn down bands that want to be on your label?
You know, it's surprisingly not a ton of artists that hit me up. I mean, there are some for sure. I would say that on any given year, I probably get hit up by around like 10 or so.
Okay.
You know, give or take a couple.
Right.
I think early on, like once I had kind of built up a little bit of momentum, it became this thing where a lot of people in like the local area were like, "Oh, you're putting out records. Like, do you want to help my band?" You know, like, and it was more like people that I already knew that were just kind of looking for somebody to kind of help them, because, you know,
Right.
I think for any band, especially like an independent band, part of the appeal of being with a label or being on a label is that, you know, there's like financial support that's
Right.
going to come from that. Right now, you know, I always try to be very upfront with people, and I tell them, it's like, listen, like, I'm not a big label. It's literally just me, you know?
Mhm.
So I'm not like, this is not going to be like a windfall for you. Like, I mean, at best, like, I might be able to pay for the entirety of like the pressing of the record. And I might be able to like throw a couple of bucks at like online advertising for you, but that's pretty much it, you know?
I talked with a guy recently on my show, and we were talking about the pros and cons of being signed to a record label. And I ask bands all the time that are on my show, you know, are they signed? And a lot of bands, some are, some aren't. And the ones that aren't tend to not want to be signed, or the ones that have been signed and are not anymore tend to not want to be signed. But what I had mentioned on the show was, I think that people with no experience that don't have the money backing a record label, even today, can still help them out to push their music out there.
Yeah, what I generally try to tell the individuals or the bands that I'm working with that I'm best at serving them with is just my time and my energy, because what I can do is at least somewhat facilitate a bit of like an online presence for them through you know, me posting stuff about their album or their band and trying to get a little bit of exposure out there. I mean, social media is not a silver bullet by any means, but I mean, this last year in particular, I think has really spoken to the idea that without live music, without live shows, like there's there's just a ton of white noise out there,
Right.
on the internet.
Yeah.
And how do you really differentiate yourself as a artist, within all of that noise? And
Yeah,
really,
bro, you have to go naked online, man. You have to start an OnlyFans, dude. You have to like chug a 2-liter bottle of milk or something. You got to do something stupid.
well, you're not wrong, actually. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not even really joking when I say that. It's like there are a lot of ways that as a musician or an artist or like a brand, like whatever you want to consider yourself, that you can gain an audience.
Yep.
But so much of it comes down to like, what is your authentic self, and what is it that you are trying to really represent yourself as? If you don't give a shit, we can swear, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Too late. Yeah.
Yeah, too late. If you don't give a shit about having to like fit yourself within like a certain box, and if you're just like, dude, I'm out here to entertain, like I'm out here to be a brand and like make art and like have fun and like all of that stuff, then you can literally do whatever you want. There's no rules, right? And you shouldn't really adhere to that. However, I think most bands and most artists try to confine themselves within like a little bit of like a set of rules for themselves so that they can pinpoint an audience that is really looking for them,
Right.
Because when you cast too wide of a net, it can be a bad thing, because then you're spreading yourself so thin. But unless you're really, really good and you have just genuinely like mass appeal, that's probably not serving you very well.
You know what's funny is, and this is going to take you back to, I started TikTok, and I think it was probably around the time you started TikTok. I think it's similar, and I watch your stuff and I share it sometimes. TikTok for me, what's cool about that is I could be my own person and do things when no one's looking, and as long as it's funny enough, I'll put it out there. And people on Facebook get upset. They're like, I didn't come on Facebook
saw that.
to see your TikTok. Well, then don't follow me. Don't follow me, because if I think it's funny, I'm gonna put it out there. But I get to be myself and do a bunch of stupid shit on TikTok. And TikTok is another way to grow your audience, because I put on my TikTok, follow me on YouTube, and then I do stupid other things that have nothing to do with the show.
But is there anything that you wouldn't do on TikTok to kind of gain that audience? I mean,
No.
Is there a boundary there, and what is it?
Well, if you're asking me, like as far as like the way that I try to represent like the record label, because I don't like, I have a TikTok, but I'm not like on there a ton, to be perfectly honest with you. But I try to leverage TikTok like a little bit within the confines of what it's good for. So like, for instance, doing like little comedy bits or like something that I think might be clever or funny,
They're funny.
just to kind of get attention, because like what Sebastian said is like, if you use it as a vehicle to just draw attention to your brand, it kind of doesn't matter what it is you're doing, as long as there's attention. And then it's on you to like point people in that direction of like, hey, like check out my YouTube channel, or like check out these bands, or like check out this record by this band that's on my label. I mean, as a vehicle to get in front of people, I think TikTok is fantastic.
Yep.
For that.
So
because there's a lot.
So I was
basically unlimited potential with that.
So Andy, I was reading an interview that you gave. I forgot where it was, where you were describing what you look for in bands that you sign on to your label, and I believe the quote was something to the effect of, "Well, if a band has great music but they suck at everything else, the marketing, the TikToking, the social media, then they're probably not going to be heard. They're probably not going to make it. But if the music sucks, but they're really, really good at social media and TikTok, they probably even won't get heard either, because the music isn't going to connect with people." So, given the whole landscape of everything that is out there with the social media, with the TikToks, what is that secret formula for getting heard?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, I'm certainly not an expert, and like when I convey that kind of a message about like, you can be a great band, but be horrible at the business or the marketing side of things. And so that's going to leave you flat. Or you can be like, just an okay band, or like, you're writing like kind of generic sounding songs or whatever, but you can be great at it and you still may not be able to connect people. I mean, I think that's going to be true about any kind of art out there, like, so like a movie or like a comedian or like anything like that. But to answer your question, like, I think that it's just a matter of striking a balance between the whole thing. I mean, you have to practice your art. You have to become a better song crafter. You have to become a better, manipulator of what it is that you're trying to convey through your music or like your lyrics or like whatever. Right.
Yeah.
Because I personally think that there is, at least somewhat like a quantifiable way to determine like if something is good music, Now that's not to say that there might be music out there that I think is horrible, but still tons of people are like gravitating to,
Right.
That happens all the time, However, I think that, if you're kind of writing like the kind of general, like if you're trying to be like a rock band and you're generally writing like the wave of like a Beatles style of song, then you've probably got a decent thing going there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have an understanding of like what a good song sounds like, right? But you have to pair that with this marketing enthusiasm and like a little bit of savvy when it comes to like, getting your name out there, and like branding is a huge thing. Like, I'm sorry to say it, but like anyone that isn't considering that as part of their agenda in terms of how they promote themselves and get themselves out there into the world is, in my opinion, doing themselves a huge disservice. And I don't know, it doesn't have to be like a really big thought out thing, but there has to be something there, because there's only so many people that are going to be really lucky to strike gold.
Yep.
Only a couple,
I'm lucky that I got a producer that helps me out and helps with the branding. And I'm all over, like you kind of said earlier, I'm one of those people, I'm all over the place. I was even talking about doing like a Ghost Hunters type thing on my show. And he's like, dude, stick with one thing. Do this one thing and don't go bouncing around because people are going to lose interest. I have the followers growing, so stay with it. I think the formula, though, is don't suck and be good on social media, and then you'll be all right, right?
That's a good balance.
Yeah, that's good.
I can tell you, though, being in a band, like, it's a relationship, right? But there are some people who just don't give a damn about doing any marketing, any social media, but they're great, excellent musicians, and that's enough for them. They don't care about doing any of the other shit. And I always like to draw this simile, if you will, where when you're in a band, you're in a boat, right? But if only two motherfuckers are doing the rowing, you guys aren't not going to get anywhere. Nope. And so every single one of the guys in the band has to row that boat in order for the boat to go upstream, so that you guys can have success.
That's good.
I mean, that's a great analogy. And I've been in a number of bands over the years, and it's typically true. Like there's generally only like a couple of people, sometimes even just one, kind of driving everything.
Yeah.
Now there are bands that I've been in where everyone's kind of carrying their weight, or like everyone's got like an assigned, maybe specialty or something like that. And that generally does serve a lot of good purposes for a band in terms of being able to move faster, like if one person really dedicates their time to like all the branding and like the marketing, like the logos, and like another person is only booking shows, and like another person is like the main songwriter or something like that. Like you could even be the person who is like the tour manager, like that's what you're good at, so you handle those duties. If everyone's, like you said, like pulling their weight and spreading the workload out, that certainly helps, because man, the burnout is real. Like when I've certainly been that person in bands before, where I'm like, dude, I'm like doing all this work, and like I know that you appreciate it, and that's fine that you appreciate it, but I'd like you to kind of do some of it too. Like,
yeah, I know.
That's what's cool about a podcast. We're going to talk about that also. Is you kind of just get to do it. I have a regular co-host also, but still, it's like, a lot of it's just, if everyone left, I'm still doing it, But I do want to play the first band, Neck Scars. And what do you want to say about Neck Scars and the video?
Sure. Well, they're a band out of New York. They're one of my more recent, signings, for lack of a better word. They're like a great kind of punk rock, kind of post-hardcore band out of New York. Really great band if you're into bands like Hot Water Music or like Leatherface or Nothington, Dead to Me. yeah, I mean, kind of like gritty vocals a little bit, but like really good tight musicianship. Their album's going to be coming out this summer, and this first track is great. It's a great representation of what they're all
And
about.
this song is called Jarring, correct?
Yeah.
All right, let's check it out right now. Here we go.
Let's do it.
Do it.
Your hands are over my neck. Hide the knives and lock the door. Why is this happening again? They try to make you quit. But why did I just give in? This abusive lack of trust, a family that's done no wrong, and I think I'm finally stuck. Addicted to being addicted. The power you learned to love. Try to make you quit. And why did I just give in? This abusive lack of trust, a family that has done no wrong, and I think I'm finally stuck. This abusive lack of trust, a family that's done no wrong, and I think I'm finally stuck. Accept these flaws, tell them all. I've given you one last fall, breaking down over again. Help me heal what I did. Accept these flaws, tell them all. I've given you one last fall, breaking down over again. Help me heal what I did. I don't know how I got home. I don't know how I got home.
Yeah, man. That is super cool. I'll tell you, if the drummer ever quits and the whole band moves to Oklahoma City, I'm their guy. I'm their guy to do that. I do want to change the focus a little bit. We are going to play Decent Criminal here in a little bit, but I do want to change the focus onto your podcast, Question the Answers, which is a super cool name for a podcast. And I've seen a couple of your episodes. What's your main objective for having the podcast?
Well, the podcast kind of started as an idea of mine to just really try to showcase different types of individuals within the music scene. Not so much focused only on musicians themselves, but the fact that there are people out there who are within the music scene who do a lot of work within the music scene that sometimes don't always get like the same type of, I guess, being showcased, being showcased the same way. So like, for instance, like people who promote shows or like own venues that host shows, right? Or, maybe like a person who's like a booking agent who does that as their job. I mean, that's a key role in like the music scene. Or potentially like somebody who runs like a PR agency, who helps with like public relations and getting media, like press and stuff like that. I mean, all these people oftentimes are also musicians. So I figured it would be kind of a great way to, strike a balance between talking about the musicians, talking about their albums, but also talking about the other work that goes into being part of the music scene. So like every now and then, I'll have just a band that has no other either role, or they don't have like another job within that. But more often than not, I try to change it up and keep it a little bit different and focused on the different players that play a part within the music scene as a whole. Yeah.
It's so different too as a podcaster, and you can appreciate this, and you'll know it also. And Los, I don't know if you were co-hosting with me, but I don't know if you've actually ever been a guest on somebody else's podcast, but it is totally a different feeling from actually doing the podcast yourself. Now, co-hosting is probably the same feeling, right, Los?
Oh, absolutely, dude. It is very, very. It's just a different hat that you have to wear when you're going on as a guest. And yes, I have been on people's podcasts as guests, and yeah, I mean, it's a fun little distraction. Mm-hmm. What I wanted to ask Andy was, you're in Tsunami Bomb, mm-hmm. You're doing your record label. You added on a podcast. I mean, what made you want to start this podcast, and how long have you been doing it?
The podcast started last year. It's something that I had flirted with doing for a while, like maybe a couple of years, but I hadn't really come up with what I felt was like a good enough, I guess, theme, because I think much like with, running a label or like doing like like a band, like you kind of want to pick like a genre to like,
right, like a niche.
Yeah, like a niche, sort of a niche. Right. Yeah. And like I knew music would be probably my most like my easiest route to go, but within music there's so much to talk about, and so it took me a while to kind of figure out, okay, well, what is it that I'm going to showcase. And so once I came up with the idea, it's like, well, maybe I'll just talk to people who like do these different things, and like maybe that will be interesting to people. And I mean, it's been like not only a way for me to reconnect with a lot of people, because fortunately, being in a band and being in bands over years, I've made a lot of connections, I've made a lot of friends, and like most of the people that I've had on the show, in some way I've either known or met over the years, some of which I had never met before in my life, like they kind of came to me through different avenues. But I'd say like at least half of the guests that I've had on the show are people that I already had some sort of connection with. But another reason was kind of just to give me something to do, because during this whole pandemic thing,
COVID,
like I had extra time. Now, mind you, like I'm currently without a job. Like I got, I'm unemployed at this point. But for the majority of the time during the pandemic, I was working full time. So I was, I had to balance my full-time job during the day with doing the label. The band, had taken a back seat. So that kind of freed up a little bit of space, a little bit of time in my day. Mm-hmm. So with that extra time and me being at home and just kind of thinking, dude, I kind of want a project,
Yeah.
So
that's why I started mine too, is I was kind of bored and I like music, just like you. Now Decent Criminal, this band has been on okay. He's a Decent Criminal, and I'm wearing
represent, baby. I'm sorry. I got to pop a
That's Bill.
Since we're all representing, I got
to represent something. Decent Criminal. I saw Mark McGrath. Is it Mark McGrath or Mark McGrath?
Mark McGrath, right?
Yeah. He did a blind reaction video and was full of compliments while he was watching the video. So how did that even happen?
Well, so I was surprised by it. Apparently, I think either a friend of the band or just somebody. I don't. Maybe it was even somebody in the band. But somebody used that Cameo service, like you've heard of Cameo, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they paid to have Mark McGrath do a blind reaction to the song.
Cool.
Super interesting.
Yeah, from what I understand, there are some people on that service that are willing to do that, and then there's others that are like, we won't do that. Like,
we're just gonna give a shout out. That's it.
Yeah, like if any, because the whole Cameo thing, from what I understand, is supposed to be like you basically hire them to like send a special message to somebody, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But Mark McGrath's like, fuck it, dude. I'll do a blind reaction, whatever, dude. Just give me the cash, And what was
Give me
great
the
about
cash,
it,
motherfucker. Give me the cash.
well, hey man, fuck, dude. If I was in his same position, dude, I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
But what I really loved about it was like, I think he genuinely,
I do too,
really liked the song, and
yes.
like he had a lot of great things to say about it. Like the comments he was making, I thought were really tasteful and like actually really accurate. Like,
Yep.
So like the way he was describing it, I'm like, dude, that makes a lot of sense. Like that's a really good review of the song. So like I think he genuinely dug it. So
I remember he was like in wasn't Sugar kind of like a punk band anyways? Like started off kind of punk rock.
Yeah, like back in the day, Sugar Ray was kind of like this, I guess, pseudo like hard funk punk rock band, and then eventually like he did like the whole indie pop.
Yeah, but he still knows what he's talking about when it comes to punk rock.
Yeah, he's no like sugar pop like I mean, I don't know, like he's not like a tool of like the music industry. Like he started off as like a genuine like independent musician doing his thing.
He didn't want to make money.
Yeah,
I don't blame him.
What I mean? It's like his band just got really popular, and like you can hate on Sugar Ray all you want.
Yeah, who cares?
Like, dude, they wrote some good songs. What can you say?
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Let's play Decent Criminal. What's this song called?
It's called Reap.
Reap. All right, here we go.
Oh no, Bizarre. My bad.
Bizarre. Okay, Bizarre. Okay.
How bizarre. How bizarre. How bizarre.
Repeat. And I still see you everywhere. You're always in my heart. But no plea, no call, don't speak at all. You truly are bizarre. Let's laugh at photographs. The world takes turns and watch us burn. And it's all the same to me. Not repeat what you have, what you've done. Pack it in, money spent, boarded up. What a blast though we've had. And it's all the same to me. I could not repeat. Said it's all the same to me. I cannot repeat, man. I cannot repeat. Yeah, I cannot repeat.
That is.
Both our bands are fucking sick.
That's pretty cool.
You can't swear on my show. Just kidding. What's cool about that video is they found a really unique way to shoot a music video with a bunch of different people during COVID.
Yeah,
and
I thought it was really great. Yeah.
Okay. Last thing I want to touch subject on. That's why we have Andy Pohl instead of all these different things, or instead of like one thing, because I kind of want to talk about different things. I know the band's not here, but is there anything new with Tsunami Bomb at all?
Well, during the pandemic, during like, everyone being locked in, the band managed to do some work. We did record a couple of cover songs that got released. Well, one of them is being released soon. I can't really divulge too much information about that, right. But, one that we did release was a cover of a, Daryl Hall and John Oates song called Out of Touch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that song.
Yeah, so that was a fun project. We did that. And then we recorded another one that hopefully is going to be announced here in the next few months. But it's there's just some other details being worked out about it.
Yeah.
But on top of that, we've been working on demoing a bunch of songs for an upcoming album. We don't specifically know yet about any kind of specific time frames, but ideally what we will do is, now that everyone's been getting their vaccinations, like I'm one of the, like, I think myself and Kate are the last two to get fully vaccinated. I got my last shot, so my fully vaccinated date is actually a week from today.
Awesome.
And then
That's
Kate,
great.
and then Kate, I think, will be like a week later. And so what we want to do is we want to, get together again and like really work on these songs in person. Now, Oubliette lives in New York, so it's harder for us to get all five of us together, because we have 4 of us on the West Coast, 1 of us on the East Coast.
Right.
But we want to try to record all together for this next record that we want to do. The last record we did, we had to do it really piecemeal. And a lot of that was because of just our logistics, but we kind of made a decision that as a band, we wanted to make sure that this next recording would be all done together in one spot. So we're considering going to where Oubliette lives in New York to record out there. There's a really, really great studio out there that we might try to do the recording at. There's also the possibility that she might come to us, and then we might just record out here in the West Coast as well. But there's goods and bads to either one.
Yeah,
so
for sure. Yeah, when you guys do, let me know. I'd love to have the band back on, and I will give you on a little secret that no one really knows. But when you guys were on the podcast, I think it was back in like December maybe or January. I forgot whenever it was. I don't remember. But my microphone didn't work for a good 10 minutes. And so I actually went in there. I was talking, but for some reason it wasn't working. I think the guest I had on was having a storm, and it messed up my Wi-Fi. I don't know. But I went in and pieced. I made up other things and plugged it in to make it sound like I was there. Because I was there. But,
nice.
So the secret's out, but I made it sound good. So I was like, "What?
Yeah.
No, this can't happen." I was so frustrated with it, but wasn't anyone's fault. But
you threw some voodoo magic on that.
Yeah, made it work.
The magic and power of editing.
Exactly right. Exactly. Now I don't edit at all, because I just say screw it. I mean, I just record it, play it, then I upload it to YouTube and everything, and done editing. If I do a bad job, I do a bad job. The show goes on. Is there anything else, Andy, that you wanted to say about anything that you're doing that maybe we didn't ask, or something that you want to put out there before we end the show?
I'd love for everyone to just at least go check out the record label. You can go to selltheheartrecords.com, and there's links to everything there. You can go to our Bandcamp. We have a web store that's separate from Bandcamp. One of the things that I really encourage people to check out is we actually have a vinyl subscription option where you can sign up and you get basically the best price that you could get all of our records at. It's just that you're paying for all of them up front, and you get all of them throughout the year. And that includes shipping. So that's an option. The podcast, I'm always looking for people to try to give it a listen. So you can find it on, Apple Podcasts, you can app it on Spotify, Stitcher. And then I also do video of them as well. So you can find it on our YouTube channel. So I'd love for people to come and check out the YouTube channel, subscribe to that. That's also where all the band's music videos are hosted as well. As far as Tsunami Bomb goes, there's stuff coming down the pike. So, please, pay attention for when that comes out. We will have new music coming out, hopefully by early next year. It probably won't be out this year, but ideally sometime early next year with a brand new, either an EP or a full length. And then just, I'd love for people to pick up the records from Sell the Heart Records and support the label any way they can. Buy a shirt. Buy a shirt.
Buy a shirt, subscribe, comment, all of that.
Something I really want to point out too is people are sometimes not sure of ways that they can support bands or artists or podcasts or anyone doing creative endeavors. Simple things like sharing, liking, commenting.
Yeah.
That stuff.
Yes, sir.
Is huge. It's more valuable than I think people give it credit for. So
it's currency.
It's
currency,
totally
baby.
current. And if you don't have like the extra bucks to spend on a record, then just comment or leave a comment or share the post or like do that.
Yep.
I'm telling you, people
Yes.
will love you for that. So consider that.
Yes.
Yeah, I love when people share my stuff. I'm like, yeah, right on. It's cool. You know, it's absolutely cool. I want to thank you for Andy for being on the show. Los, I want to thank you for being a co-host on the show. And everyone also, please go check out Malcocast. It's the guys at Malcontent plus Los. They have a really newsworthy podcast. I was on the podcast with Ava recently on YouTube. It was really, really fun. So,
a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of laughs on there, and I got made fun of a lot, which I love. So that's okay. I don't want you guys. What were you gonna say?
I said before we go, wanted to ask you guys if you guys had any shout outs to give out.
Yeah, everyone that's been on my show and everyone that's going to be on my show.
Yeah, I just like give a shout out to all the bands, you know, working with us on the label. Obviously to my bandmates, to my wonderful wife April, and just to all my friends, you know, everyone out there listening.
Shout out to my wife too. See, now
Yeah.
I'm going to shout out to their wife.
I'm going to shout out my wife too, so I don't get in trouble. And I'm going to shout out to my other wives, Anthony and Heath. We're in this marriage. It's called the Malcocast. So
There you go. All right, and also shout out to everybody who likes, comments, and shares on all of our things that we're doing right here. Don't go anywhere. Stay right there. Here is the outro.
This is the Loud Spot outro by Nothing Short of Tragic. Is this all talk with no action? No. Is this my thoughts with distraction? No. Is this what I bought that's in fashion? Or is this the Loud Spot with Sebastian? Yes. Does Nothing Short of Tragic have us back again? Yes. Does everything that's good really have to end? Yes. A pin post has a pin show, so to get more episodes, make an order, this is over.
Thanks for watching our video. Don't forget to click the like and share button.
Don't forget to go to our YouTube and subscribe.
If you want to listen to our audio and pick up some cool merch, go to www.theloudspot.net. Peace out, rock on, much love.
Maryland sports fans, there's only one sports book in the great state of Maryland with over 50 years experience booking bets and supporting customers. Betfred Sportsbook at Longshots is now open and is the only sportsbook in Frederick offering cash betting on football, basketball, world soccer, and more. Visit the Betfred Sportsbook at I-270 and MD-85 in Frederick, right next to Longshots off-track betting. Go to betfredsports.com for more information and your chance to win exclusive merchandise. Must be 21 or older. Play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.